So let's talk about how do you increase the sides of this equation to have the greatest result, which gives you the greatest options, which makes it so that you can have a higher standard, right? You don't have to drop your expectations. You don't have to drop your standard. What's up, Bulldogs? All right, I got a coaching client of mine who is struggling with attracting women. He hasn't had much experience. He's kind of getting to this hopeless place where he feels like, is there even really much I can do? You know, this seems to be out of my hands. Do I have to lower my standards? Do I have to pick a girl that's not as attractive? And my answer is, well, actually, this is what my answer was you have two options. Okay, so one option is that you can stay where you're at. Okay, you're getting some matches on dating apps, you're going on some dates with girls, they're maybe not of the attractiveness level that you would like, and you could do that. You'll have to lower your standard, right? You'll have to lower your standard and say, you know, because he said, oh, I want a girl that's an 8, maybe you have to go for a 6 or 5. That's maybe where you'll have to be, all right? That's option 1. Option 2 is if you want to go for the 8 and above, if that's what you want, then you're gonna have to raise your level. And so I said either answer's fine, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. There's gonna be a lot of work in raising the level. You've already raised the level some, but you have to raise it up to that level where you can get that. And I want to talk to you today about that because I want to talk about how to raise your level, what you can do, and how this actually works. How can you actually get a girl? How can you actually attract a girl? How can you get a girlfriend if that's what you're looking for, or if you're looking for a wife, potentially later down the road, or even just to get laid, okay, that's fine as well. But how can you do this practically? I'm gonna give you an equation here, and it works just like marketing, just like business, which is this, is that the equation is this, is that it is the volume of interactions times the percentage of attraction. Volume of interactions times percentage of attraction. What does this mean? Well, let's start off with the percentage of attraction. The percentage of attraction is the percentage of women that will be attracted to you. Now, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of looks, maybe it's because of status, maybe because it's you got some fire game, you got a $1 million mouthpiece, whatever it is, what percentage of women will be attracted to you out of all of the women that exist, right? So for example, let's say that your percentage of women was 5%. 5% would mean 1 in 20 women, would mean that if you talk to 20 women, if you have interactions with 20 women, one of them will be attracted to you. That's your percentage. Now let's look at the other part of the equation, which is the volume of interactions. What does this mean? Well, this is pretty simple. This means how many women are you exposing yourself to? That sounded, hopefully that's 0, but how many women are you interacting with? What does this mean? Well, it could be on dating apps. How many women are you swiping on potentially, right? Or seeing your dating profile? That one's a little bit harder for you to see, but I guess through swipes, you can increase that volume by doing a lot of swipes on the dating app, okay? But more importantly, it's how many women you're going and you're approaching, you're talking to, right? That might be cold approaching during the day or at nightclubs or bars or whatever it is. If you're increasing that volume, that's the volume. That's the number of women that you're interacting with. It could also be women that you're seeing in social situations, in gyms, friend groups, work, things like that, although some of those places are not the best places. However, that raw number there, how many interactions? And so if you think about this from a very logical perspective, the math works. The math makes sense. This equation is this volume times the percentage of attraction is going to be how many options you have, how many women that you have in your pool of options. Now, within that pool of options, there's going to be a distribution. Some women are going to be 2s. Some women are going to be 10s, hopefully, right? And there's going to be, obviously there's some more complexities as the attraction percentage depends on the women's attractiveness level. So there's going to be less 10, but it's just kind of an equal distribution or a distribution of odds in there. So I don't want to lose you, but think of it this way. Let's say that your pool of women, after doing this equation, ends up being 100. Let's say that there are, 2,000 women that you interact with, and you have a 5% attraction rate, and so you get 100 women that are in your pool of options. Of that pool of options, some are gonna be 2s, some are gonna be 10s. So maybe there is 1 10 in there. There is maybe 5 9s, or let's say 3 9s, and maybe there's 10 8s, and then the rest is going to be below that number. There's going to be a smaller chunk of 7s, a bigger chunk of 6s, a big chunk of 5s, and there's very few women that are kind of below that you'd even be talking to or interacting with, right? So there's sort of a bar of the women that you're actually approaching and talking to. But what I'm saying with this is, again, think about this. It's a distribution. And so the more volume you have of options, if you have 500 women in your pool, there's going to be maybe in that case 5 10s, or I don't know what the exact math will work out, but you can understand how if you have more options, you're more likely to get higher options. The same thing if you're searching for a job, right? When I help guys to find a high-paying job, this is how I can make them a lot more money in their job. When I'm doing coaching in that regard, I'll have them apply expertly to multiple jobs so they get multiple offers. And the more offers that they get, the more likely they're gonna get some ridiculously high offer, right? That's what happens when you have a lot of options. Okay, so let's talk about how do you increase the sides of this equation to have the greatest result, which gives you the greatest options, which makes it so that you can have a higher standard, right? You don't have to drop your expectations. You don't have to drop your standard. In fact, we're gonna make this a part 2. I don't do this very much on this channel, but if you wanna see how to raise this equation factor, all right, and I'm gonna put it here. I'm not even gonna put it in the Bulldog Mindset membership. If you wanna join the Bulldog Mindset membership, maybe we'll have a more in-depth one where we have the equations and everything. Okay, but if you want to raise attraction factor, click subscribe, click like, whatever. There'll be a new video tomorrow, and I'm going to show you how to raise the equation.